Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel. I am so excited for this week's episode because we have been in Montana over a decade now. Yes, that's right. August 8th of 2014 is when we rolled into town, and I thought it would just be fun. I mean, our girls were entering 2nd and 4th grade when we moved here. Now, Selah, our oldest, is in college. Noelle's a senior this year. So I thought it would just be a fun little episode to kind of go through a few questions and just reflect on our time here, what they love, what they hate, what they would change, what they think you should know. So thank you for joining us today. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay a while. Hit that notification bell to get notified when new videos drop. I am Janet Cantrell, your local Montana realtor, and I appreciate you being here. Some of my favorite things about living in Montana: the lack of humidity. For sure. We just got back from Italy, my husband and I celebrating 25 years. And oh my gosh, even up in the mountains in the Lake Como area, it was so humid and sticky, and we just felt sticky every day. And here in Montana, I just love the low humidity, that it gets cool every night. So even if it's 95 degrees one day in the summer, and we do get that high, it's been about 96 the last week and a half. Every night it cools down to probably 50s, and I just love that. It's perfection.
What have been your favorite things about living in Montana? I would say definitely the nature, hikes, rivers, fishing, and definitely snow skiing. Yeah, just getting outdoors and the wildlife too. Elk and coyotes and bears and moose and fishing as well. You know, it's beautiful.
Probably the outdoor activities that we get to do and how normal it is for kids to go like camping and hiking and just rafting and all this stuff. It's just pretty normal, and I think that's really cool.
My favorite thing about living in Montana has been the summers, and I would assume that most people who are from here would agree with that statement. I really enjoy being 5 minutes away from a lake at any given moment in time and going to the lake with my friends and floating rivers and going on hikes and jumping off bridges into the rivers and cliff jumping and stuff. So it's been fun, especially as I've gotten older.
Rainbows. Montana has some of the best rainbows. I think arguably the best rainbows in the country. They're so vibrant and oftentimes double. Endless beauty and recreation and just the proximity of everything that you would want to do, and being able to go on a hike with an absolutely breathtaking view at the end is very rewarding. Skiing, biking, hiking, swimming, floating. Floating was a newfound love. I had done that once growing up and hated it because the water was murky and it just was kind of gross. But here the waters are just so clear and beautiful, and it's chilly. I'm not gonna lie to you about that, but once your butt's numb, it's just fine. National parks, camping, bonfires, family memories, fireworks, the 4th of July. Oh, I almost forgot. So my daughter, she already filmed hers, so she didn't have it because she had to go to North Carolina. Well, she didn't have to. She went to North Carolina this summer to serve at a ministry there for young adults with disabilities because she is going to college for occupational therapy. Anyway, she called. She's been obsessed with North Carolina, thinking she might want to live there one day. And on the 4th of July, she was so homesick because I don't really think many other states do the 4th of July like Montana does either. Montanans are no joke. All out. You'll hear fireworks for a week before, a week after. You spend the day on the lake, and then you go enjoy the show. And I don't know, it's just something really special. Montana also got most patriotic state, I think, in the kind of list, the lineup of states there, which sometimes, you know, depending on the patriotism, some people take it a little bit too far, but all in all, I love standing for the national anthem. I love feeling patriotic about our country and hearing those songs and having that excitement. It's really special.
What have been your least favorite things about living in Montana? Probably getting in and out via flights can be a pain because there's only a couple a day. So sometimes that is rough when you miss a flight or a connection getting back here. Then you end up having to stay overnight in another city, and that's just what it is.
My least favorite things about living in Montana is probably the really, really long winters. That's hard. And then the smoke in the summer. That's also not very fun for your lungs. But
my least favorite things about living in Montana, apparently I'm a very season-oriented person because I just genuinely do not like the winters because of how long they are and how dark they are and how cold they are. And I just feel like everybody kind of loses motivation and like their joy and their like energy. And it's just kind of everybody's in a blah state of mind for a little bit in January and February. And then also we don't have any shopping really here. So it's kind of sad. Everybody goes to Target like 4 times a week for fun. That's about all that we have to do around here, especially in Kalispell. In Missoula, it's a lot better. There's a mall that has some good stores, and then also they have things are open longer because it's a college town.
Least favorite things about Montana? Let's see. Sometimes the winter does get long. Okay, it always is long. I actually don't mind it as much when we have a good amount of snow that year and we can get out and just play in it the whole time. It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's wonderful, and the snow reflects the light, and so it makes it brighter. The last 2 winters haven't been my favorite. Last year we didn't get enough snow, so that wasn't very fun. The year before we had quite cold weather without a lot of snow as well. So it varies by year, but that would be one of them that I hear a lot. Gray days. I don't care about that as much. I grew up in Michigan. We had plenty of gray days, but I know that's kind of a downer for some people. Probably for me, the lack of diversity in food choices. It's gotten better over the last few years, but still nothing as far as options compared to Ohio, where we moved from. Just the different ethnicities and flavors and all of that. Montana is still lagging behind a little bit, and I still cannot find a great steak here. We are in Flathead Valley, but I know Montana Rib and Chop House. It's been a few years since we've been, but we've been several times. There's one in Butte, there's one in Livingston, and there's a few more throughout the state if you look them up. Their ribeye with the blue cheese and the butter is amazing. It's even good leftover and microwaved, and that's saying a lot. So you could check that out, but we don't have them here. What else? Shopping. I'm not an Amazon girl. I cannot order clothes on Amazon and have them fit right. I don't think most women can. And there's just not a lot of clothing stores here in the valley. If you get into Missoula, there's a few more options, but that's definitely maybe a little bit of a downfall if you are a big shopper. We have TJ Maxx though, and they get rotating things, so that's always a fun surprise.
How has it been working in Montana? I work remote, so I can't speak to the job market here in Montana, but working remotely has been fine. We have internet and video conference calls, things of that nature, and it works out just fine. Sometimes I'll do business calls on the back patio outside, and it's fine. It's been pretty good for me.
Okay, so job opportunities in Montana, they're very limited. So cost of living is a huge issue now, especially post-COVID with the kind of doubling of housing prices and everything else we all know. So that's definitely a consideration. I worked for the airlines when we moved here initially to help us get back home more affordably with the girls. So I feel like there's always creative ways to make things work if they're important to you. And now, of course, doing real estate, which I absolutely love as well. But yeah, various options for jobs in healthcare and education, tourism, working at the airlines, travel agencies, and yeah, if you have questions on that, reach out.
I went to elementary and middle school at West Valley. And it was a really good experience. It's a much smaller school. My graduating class in 8th grade had like 70 people. And so it was a very tight-knit community, and we did a lot of field trips. That's something I remember. And I don't know if it's just that high schoolers don't do field trips, but I think we went on a trip probably twice a month, which was really fun for me, being that young. And the teachers really are passionate about their jobs, and I had some great bonds with a lot of them. When we first moved here, when we lived in Ohio, I went to a pretty advanced school. And so when we first got here, I was in 4th grade, and I was a year ahead. And so they were talking about me skipping a grade, but I apparently wasn't mature enough. So I just kind of hung out, and I was like a teacher's aide for all of 4th grade and helped people with their homework and organized the books and went and made paper copies. So that was kind of funny because I didn't really do anything, but it was also good because I loved my teacher and I loved getting to spend time with her. So for high school, I went to Glacier, which is one of the 2 schools that we have here in Kalispell, and I really did enjoy it. They had a lot of cool opportunities, a lot of cool classes that you could take, like ceramics or they had this whole agricultural program that I didn't do, but people really enjoy. And their music department is really good, and so I was very involved in that. And I feel like I got a pretty good education. They partner with our community college here, so you can take dual enrollment classes. So I did that instead of APs anytime that I could, just because you're more guaranteed to get that college credit versus having to take a big test. It's just whatever grade you get in that class. And I think misconception of that would be that you had to go to the college to take those classes. But dual, that's just running start. So that's taking running start classes and taking classes at the college. For dual enrollment, they have teachers at the high school who are certified to teach those classes, and you get college and high school credit for both, which was really cool. Their sports teams are really good. They had a lot of fun events, prom, typical high school stuff. And then for college, I am a sophomore right now at the University of Montana. So I go to school still in Montana in Missoula. And that's been a super fun experience for me. I think it's a good school. I don't really have any comparison, but I really do enjoy it. And I love my friends that I've made there. And they have a lot of fun, different opportunities and traditions and things that we get to participate in. And the program that I'm in is really good for what I'm going into. So if you are a tree hugger and you're passionate about trees and nature and that type of stuff, they are the #1 forestry school in the United States. That's kind of irrelevant for what I'm doing, but it's a really cool program that they have there right now for that. So
it was good. Yeah, I don't really have anything negative to say. Of course, at every school you're going to have kids who make bad decisions, but I feel like there was enough, especially at my elementary school, there wasn't a lot of those kids. And then when I did get to schools where there was, I could just easily avoid that group. And so that, and the one negative is that during elementary school when I took the bus, they don't really cancel the bus. So even when it got into negatives, there'd still be kids waiting out on the bus stop. So maybe that's a little strange. But you know what? My mom did point out that they did cancel the bus when it got to -40. So that's good at least.
Wildlife encounters. These are fun. I know when we were first considering a move to Montana, this was a really big issue for me with our girls. They were 2nd and 4th grade, and I was just really worried about it because we hadn't really dealt with that much. What's the wildlife in Ohio? Fairly non-existent. So yes, we have had 1 year biking going to the Sun Road. There was a bear on the road, and we had bear spray, and we were way closer than we should have been because there was only one way to pass, and the bear was just busy eating and had no intentions of going anywhere anytime soon. So, there was a crowd of us, and there's comfort in numbers, and we all had multiple bear sprays, but That was exciting. Obviously, we've seen bears plenty of times in the park. I love seeing them from my car. That's nice and kind of safe feeling. We also had one when we had friends in town at the sign, the Glacier National Park sign. They got out to take a picture and this bear just came up right behind them. Going to the Sun Road one year when we were biking, a deer came up and just started licking us. Because I guess we were sweaty and salty and they thought we were their salt block.
Tell me about a wildlife encounter. While bow hunting, I have encountered mountain lions, and that's pretty disturbing. I've also ran into a bear bow hunting, hiking back out from my spot. So that was pretty unnerving. We've been on a hike and encountered moose. Yeah, running into wildlife is pretty common. We've seen them on bike rides, all kinds of things.
There was a bear at the mall once. That was funny. And the airport. So they kind of roam around. But I don't really remember a very distinct, encounter. Of course, you see deer everywhere you go. There's some wild turkey in our neighborhood. But besides that, I don't really remember anything specific.
Living here for 10 years, we've had a good amount of wildlife encounters. There was one time when we were hiking and there was a family of moose, and when you're 11 years old, those moose seem pretty big and scary, so that was kind of intense. And then there's a lot of deer left and right. You'll see deer. It's weird because in Missoula, where I go to school for college, the deer are all over the campus and they just kind of hang out on campus and they pretend that they go there and attend this school. And so everybody just kind of feeds them and gets to pet them and fun stuff. They're kind of domesticated. So that's been really fun to experience too.
Montana winters through the years, I think I kind of touched on the last two have been a little bit more difficult, but how I've handled it. Really for the last, I want to say 4 or 5 as we could. You remember I worked at the airline, so that helped with this. But we'd schedule a sunny trip in March. Mexico, a lot of people from Montana go to Mexico because it's pretty easy flights to get there. Arizona, if you don't want to leave the country, is also a great option just to get a little bit of that sunshine. Nevada, I think that helps a lot in February or March.
How have you handled Montana winters through the years? I would say a mistake that we made when we first moved here in respect to Montana winters is we didn't have a snowblower. That turned out to be a huge mistake. I just remember shoveling every day for those particular winters, and snow was piled up taller than me on either side of our driveway. And if I had a snowblower, that would have made that a lot better. Now, consequently, after I bought a snowblower, we haven't had that much snow. So I'm not sure it's my fault, I guess. We haven't had as much snow, or you're welcome. I'm not sure how to say that.
When I was younger, the snowbanks would pile up so high, and we used to build tunnels through them. So throughout the whole neighborhood, through the snowbanks, you just check for tunnels because there was lots of kids in my neighborhood growing up. So there'd be tunnels in almost every snowbank, and that was fun. And a lot of times, when the tunnels got old, it kind of became more ice instead of snow. So then we'd sketch little notes to each other in them, or Noel was here or something like that. So that was fun when I was younger, and of course sledding. And now that I'm older, I don't crawl through snow tunnels anymore. I don't really fit, but maybe skiing. And I think that if you move to Montana, even if you're horrible at skiing, you never skied before, that you should definitely try skiing or snowboarding, because it helps pass the time and it helps you appreciate the winter. And when you go up to the mountain, it helps you get excited for the snow instead of, because you're oh, good snow, good powder, instead of dreading it, because otherwise it gets really, really long. It still gets really long.
So through the years, I think that I've grown to like winter here less and less. This past year in particular, I kind of decided that I was not a Montana person specifically because of the winter. When you're a kid, you go sledding and you run around and you're all bundled up and you have a good time, and you go skiing and you build snowmen and forts and whatnot. And as you get older, life, skiing is an all-day event, and so I've gotten to go less and less, which is kind of sad because I really do enjoy it. But also, I feel like everybody kind of loses their pep and their energy. And for me in particular, I lose a lot of motivation with it being dark, like the second that you're done with school. It's just like, oh, I guess it's time for me to go to bed. So it's kind of sad with that. But Christmases are gorgeous and beautiful. And like, don't get me wrong, there's definitely some beauty in that and in all of the snow that we get. And I would never want to experience a winter that doesn't have snow. So I don't really know. I think it's a preference thing for sure.
I guess this shouldn't be a surprise, since when we visited Montana to decide if we might want to move here, if you've watched that video, my husband said it felt like we were leaving home to go home. But time and time again, I'm always surprised because I'm such a traveler and I love adventure in new places. But it never fails after going on a trip, an amazing trip to amazing places. I love coming home to Montana. There's just no place like it, and it's just a breath of fresh air every time.
Let's see here. What most surprised you about living in Montana? It's a weird detail, but it surprised me. Originally having come from Ohio in the Midwest and experiencing winters with cold blast and specifically lake effect snows. Sometimes when you say it's snowing, it's more like getting pelted in the face with small ice crystals. A lot. It's like that, actually. Whereas snow here is just like a magical snow globe quite often. It's just slow and pretty and all day long. And I don't know, it hits different. I don't know how to say that, but I love big snowflakes and slow falling snow. And we see a lot of that here in Montana. And that's surprised me. And I don't know. I just like that personally.
I moved here really young, so I didn't really have any expectations, but maybe like driving age. I got my license at 14 and a half, and most kids get their driver's license at 14 and a half. And during middle school, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of people drove like themselves to school even though they didn't have their license, which is really common. It's not legal, but it's common. It was because I grew up on farms, and to get to the school, it was like 90% country roads, and then like you enter a neighborhood and then you're at the school. So it's not like they were in a busy city or like on a highway. It's usually they're on like country roads, and so the parents were like, oh yeah, drive to school. So that was interesting for sure.
The thing that most surprised me about living in Montana, I don't have anything like super specific because I was so young when we moved here, but I do vividly remember being at church and saying I was moving to Montana, and my kids leader told me, he was like, Montana, do they even have lights there? And I don't know if I just missed some social cues, but I was pretty positive when we were moving here that there was no electricity and everybody rode horses, so that was kind of a happy surprise for me.
All right, so something I think everybody should know about Montana, whether you're visiting or moving here, is it's a really special place, and trying to maintain that natural beauty and that history and be respectful of the people that have come before. And I'm not saying with that not to bring new ideas. Honestly, I have heard since being here that we really need some advancements in the mental health areas and what we have to offer some people that might be struggling. So definitely come bring those ideas, bring that. But as far as making changes, you have to know, I mean, during COVID, Montanans, I think we wore masks for like a month. So Montanans are more along the line of just stay out of my business, leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone. I mean, we're very friendly, but don't take their guns, don't put masks on them, don't try to bridle them, because it's kind of wild and free here. And that's really how Montanans love it. So just know that coming in.
One thing everybody might want to know about Montana is that hunting and forestry both are sort of a way of life for Montana historically, both from the Native American standpoint and just from original settlers here throughout Montana history. Forestation is managed very responsibly in Montana, which is really awesome to see. But hunting also, a lot of people hunt for deer or elk, or even bear, and it's state requirements to manage the meat and process the meat for those. So that's one thing to know, is that hunting puts food on a lot of tables around in the local area, and you can go to local butchers and buy elk and different things like that. So pretty awesome. But yeah, that'd be something important, good to know.
Maybe the driving distance for school activities and sports. For like Bozeman, we have to drive 5 hours, and like a lot of times sports go out of state, I'm pretty sure. When you get to high school, the teachers and the kids often skip for POW days, so that's something to be aware of. So if it's like a good powder day, a lot of times school is more chill on that day. Like obviously you still have assignments, but a lot of like not every other, but a lot of teachers are gone because they're up skiing, and a lot of students are gone because they're up skiing. So it's definitely more chill, and it's very normal. So yeah.
I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for joining me. This was a really special episode for us. Having been here a decade, we absolutely love it. If you have further questions, feel free to text or call me anytime at 406-890-5390. Be sure to give a big thumbs up if anything in here was helpful or useful. Have an amazing week, and I will see you next time.